Good morning and welcome to Live from Oz. I'm Jock Zonfrillo and like everybody, I've been spending a lot of time at home lately. So I'm coming to you live from my place in Melbourne where I'm going to show you a cool recipe. One of the things I've missed the most about lockdown and this whole COVID palaver is the fact that I can't travel. And one of the best things about traveling is obviously experiencing different cultures, which means, of course, for me as a chef, different flavors and all kinds of delicious. Another one of the things that I've really missed is not being able to go out on country. Australia has some of the most sensational locations in the world and it's all right here on our doorstep. As I say, I'm fortunate enough to spend a lot of time on country where I have the good fortune to taste some beautiful indigenous ingredients. I'm going to show you some of those today in a recipe that I've prepared for a simple Barramundi sandwich. Can't wait to show it for you. Okay, first thing we're going to do is, well, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a Barramundi sandwich or a roll. You can do it in bread. I'm going to make it a bread roll today. You can use sliced white bread. You can use sourdough loaf, whatever you like. There are a few different parts to it. There is the barramundi itself, which I'm going to fillet, cut scallops, and then basically we're going to crumb it in a fancy crumb, pan fry it until it's crispy, and then we're going to make a really nice mayonnaise using native tamarinds. And that's just going to help it pop and a bit of sourness and some pickled onions, and it's based off of a gentleman's relish, which is kind of like an anchovy paste really, but we're going to add loads of other great stuff in there so it's nice and fresh and matches the beautiful barramundi. So first thing I have to do is make a flour. So rather than get the barramundi into flour before we breadcrumb it, I'm going to make a beautiful flour that's fragrant with some indigenous ingredients. So I'm going to start off with some glutinous rice. Straight into the pan, and we're going to start toasting these off. I love cooktops. One thing that we've been doing as chefs, and I'm sure every other chef will sympathize with me, is that we've been cooking a lot using these induction cooktops. Number one, they're very noisy, and the second thing is they beep a lot. Very annoying. Okay, so our rice, glutinous rice, the reason we're using that is because when we toast it, it dries out really nicely and has a sort of nutty kind of flavor when we grind it up afterwards. They use it a lot in Thai salads and labs and stuff like that. In this case, I've got, as I said, some indigenous ingredients I'm going to put in it. So this is an aniseed myrtle, which for all intents and purposes really does taste and smell like aniseed. And we've got cinnamon myrtle, another myrtle again. Same thing again, it's really cinnamony. No surprises there, guessed by the name. And lastly, I've got lemon myrtle. Lemon myrtle is sort of, it's a bit like lemon sherbet is the aroma and the flavor. And one last one actually is Geraldton Wax. So Geraldton Wax is a native shrub and it has an aroma and a flavor a bit like kaffir lime and lemongrass mixed in together. It is beautiful. And so what we're going to do is, as the rice is toasting, I'm going to add these spices into the rice and toast them off together until they're really dry and beautiful. And then I'm going to grind it up, and that's going to be the flour that we then coat the barramundi in before we put it in the egg wash and breadcrumbs. So we can see the rice is actually just starting to color up in the pan. So now I'm going to add my spices. And the heat of the rice will actually just start to toast the spices. It'll release the oils and then they'll just start leaching out a little bit. Patience. You have to have patience when you cook. Okay, so the leaves now are pretty much almost dry. If you look at them, you can hear them. So the color of the rice is like a light caramel really. So now I'm going to add some fresh cracked white pepper and a good dose of salt. Remember, this is the flour, so we would normally season the flour before we put it on the fish anyway, so don't be shy with the salt. And that is it. So this guy now will really just cool down basically before we can use it, because if we try and blitz this now, it'll just turn into a bit of a paste. So we have to make sure it cools down before we put it in the blender and turn it into flour, which gives us a chance to make the next recipe. So now we're going to make our relish, and the relish is really simple. As I said before, it sort of is based on a gentleman's relish, which is it pains me to say this, but it's English. It's a very old English recipe that really revolves around anchovies, and there are many variations of it. But the basis of this relish started with the idea of a gentleman's relish. So in here I've got smoked paprika and cumin. It's going to go straight in the pan, and I'm just going to get some warmth into that and start toasting it a little bit before I go any further. Now I don't want to do it too much. I just want to get the aromas and the flavors going in the spice first before I add anything else. So now we can start to really smell it. As the spices sort of warm up again, any oils that are in the spices come out, the room fills with the fragrance of the spice, and then we know that we're going to get maximum flavor. Next up is extra virgin olive oil. So we want probably about, I don't know, I'm a chef, we don't measure things, half a cup maybe, roughly. We'll get that in there. And now we've got some onions, sliced onions. This is one whole white onion, finely sliced, straight into our mix. Garlic, it's about one large clove of garlic. And we're going to let this cook. It's going to be about 10 to 15 minutes. And while this is cooking, I'm going to fillet the fish. So just get it going before we leave it for a bit. But we want to slow cook this, so a medium heat is best for this. And as I say, 10 to 15 minutes, medium heat. The onions start to break down, the sugars come out, it starts to caramelize, and then we're going to add our anchovies. And then lastly, we're going to add ginger, but I don't add the ginger until later on because I want more freshness out of the ginger rather than it caramelized down. And really what we're trying to make here is a bit like a paste, really, almost like a curry paste, anchovy paste. And into that forms our relish, because we're going to add some pickled shallots into that, some parsley, some of the native tamarind that I mentioned earlier on. And then we're going to mix that then into our mayonnaise. It's delicious. So I'm just going to let that do its thing while I fillet the fish. Okay, fish. Look at this guy. Beautiful Australian fish. Barramundi. It is one of my favourite Australian fishes. So good. I can't even begin to tell you. Great for a sandwich as well because there's a reasonable amount of fat in a barramundi, so it's nice. We can have a nice scallop of this, and it's nice and thick in the fillet, so not too thin. Of course, if you cannot get barramundi, you can use any kind of fish. I'm just using barramundi today because I love it. And also, I'm obviously filleting a whole barramundi. You can go to your fishmonger, any fishmonger, and just get a fillet of barramundi, and it'll make it much easier and quicker to do this recipe. So, beautiful. So I only need one fillet today, so the rest later. So we're just keeping an eye on our onions here, and you can see the onions are starting to break down. The sugars and the liquid are coming out of the onion as it starts to cook. And then that will start then caramelizing along with those spices. At that point, we add the anchovies. So another 5 minutes yet. Okay, now Barramundi has, if you are filleting fish yourself, it has some pin bones down the middle, and you have two choices. You can either mess around with a pair of pliers and cut the pin bones out, or you can just cut a V and remove the pin bones, which is what I'm doing because I am at home and I have no patience for pliers. Now, although the skin on the barramundi is very nice, I am not going to use the skin on today at all. So we're just going to take the skin off. Now, later on I'll blanch that, put it in the oven and make a massive fish crisp out of it. It's really delicious. Now, in terms of our scallop, or escallop I should say, not scallop. So you can see this now is actually just started to catch in the bottom. So it's perfect. That means the water's come out, it's caramelized in the bottom, so now we can add our anchovies. Straight in, and with the anchovies I'm going to add about a third of a cup of water. Mix it in. And we'll just let that simmer. Again, do about another 10 minutes, and then we're going to add our ginger. The scallops. I've got bread rolls that I'm using today, that size. So I want to think about the size of the fish that I'm going to cut. So if you look at that, I want a nice thick piece of fish. I've got to allow for the breadcrumbs. So just bear in mind when you're cutting your fish, whatever sort of sandwich you're going to make yourself, have a look at your bread first before you make any rash decisions on how you cut your fish. So I'm just cutting it really at a 45-degree angle there. And it's like a little minute steak of barramundi, really. Beautiful. We'll just hold it today. Fresh. Awesome. Okay. So now you can really smell the spices and the anchovies sort of cooking down together, a little bit of caramelization, which we want. And really, we just want to cook this now until the onions are fully cooked. That's the idea, because then we're going to turn it into a puree. And that puree, as I said, that's going to form the deep flavour that is going to be in this relish, sort of relish mayonnaise that we're going to put on the fish sandwich. So that's had 5 minutes now, so we're going to add the ginger. As I said, we add the ginger much later in the cook because I really want it. I want the freshness of the ginger. I want to be able to taste that in the sandwich. So if we put it in too early, you just lose the flavour entirely. So we put it in towards the end just to keep it nice and fresh. Okay, next I'll set up my blender, and this should have cooled enough. It's not entirely cool, but I think we might get away with it, maybe. All right. Straight into the blender. Wow. There's rice pinging all over the place. Turn it on, Jock. Nice one. Can everyone in here smell that? How good is it? So, what we now have is a very fragrant flour that we're going to add to our barramundi. It smells amazing. It smells so good. So our paste is still going. Got a beautiful smell of ginger in there now as well. In this kitchen now I've got the smell of smoked paprika and cumin. I've got all of the aniseed myrtle, the cinnamon myrtle, the lemon myrtle, the Geraldton wax. It's the smell in this kitchen is amazing right now. It's a combination of that paste and this flour. Really good. Okay, right. So I've got 2 eggs in a bowl, and I'm just going to give them a quick mix. Everyone's crumbed fish before, right? You get a piece of fish or a piece of chicken if you're making a schnitzel, exactly the same thing. Into flour, then into egg, and then into breadcrumbs. Basically, that's all we're doing here. Nothing really too fancy except this guy, the flour. It is awesome. If you're using other recipes as well, you know, if you're making a schnitzel or something like that, try using this instead of a normal flour, because you can add any kind of flavors in there. I used the Myrdals, which you can use for chicken if you're making a schnitzel or whatever, but you know, you can also use any other different type of spice that you wanted to. Okay, so this is cooked now. You can see the onions have completely broken down. So I'm going to switch this off, and then we're going to puree it. Blender. Get this guy straight in. Oh, it smells so good. Excellent. when you're blending stuff, just make sure you sort of stop halfway through, clean down the edges, and just give it a bit of a mix, because often if you're doing a small batch like this, it doesn't puree properly, so you kind of have to really give it a right good mix around. Of course, if you're doing a big batch, it doesn't matter. Done. Okay, that is us. Beautiful. You can really taste the anchovies, but there's a depth of flavour that comes from the spices, particularly the smoked paprika. So, fish. Straight into our flour. So remember, what we have here is a fragrant, seasoned, toasted rice flour, essentially. So we don't need to add any salt to the fish because it's already in the flour. So we put them straight in. Nice and floured up. I always say to people, you need layers of flavour. So this is our first layer. So from here, it goes straight into our egg wash. Give a little shake off. Straight into the breadcrumbs. So the trick when you're doing this is to keep one hand dry and one hand wet, otherwise you end up with really sticky, messy, horrible hands. So just pat it down, pat the breadcrumbs onto the fish, just to make sure that it's completely stuck, because we want a nice coating of breadcrumbs on there, because we want crunchy, we want a crunchy piece of fish, really. There we go. Again, straight into our egg. Swap hands. Shake into the breadcrumbs, use our dry hand. One. Just make sure you shake off any excess egg, otherwise it tends to get a little bit messy. Brilliant. There we go. Done. Now, let's finish this sauce. Wipe down. So I've got a bowl with some mayonnaise. It's just shop bought whole egg mayonnaise. The whole egg mayonnaise tastes much better, so that's the way to go. I've got some sliced shallots. Now I'm going to show you how to make. I'm not a lover of raw onion or raw shallots, really, for that matter. But I'll show you something really cool. If you get a raw onion or raw shallot, for that matter, it works with either, and you actually pickle them in lemon juice and a little bit of salt, they become, even though they're still raw, they've got a slight pickle on them, and they're really, really delicious. They're really good. And as I say, I am not a lover of any kind of raw onion at all. Like, I can't do it. So I'm going to get a few lemons. I'm going to just juice them, take the seeds out of them. I don't want to eat them. They're a bit nasty. Beautiful. Put our shallots straight into the lemon juice. And then I have here, this is native tamarind. So from the rainforest up north, again from an indigenous community up there, the best thing for it's sour, like any kind of tamarind. It's got a beautiful sour edge, you know, as sour as, say, a passion fruit. But the flavor is kind of tropical. So when we put this into the mayonnaise, it's going to be little pops of sour deliciousness. What I want to do, though, is put it inside along with our shallots here. If you can't get native tamarind, you can just add a spoonful of tamarind paste that you can buy in the supermarket. Don't stress about it. So straight in, and I'm just going to give this a bit of a workout with my fingers. I just want to squeeze the shallots into the lemon juice, just so as the lemon juice starts sort of breaking down the shallot. Look at the colour that's gone straight away because of the tamarind. It's absolutely beautiful. So we'll just let that sit while we finish. I'm going to sub out that for that because that one's cold. Okay, so into our mayonnaise, I'm going to add, now this is to flavour. So we've got our anchovy sort of paste, if you like. I like quite a lot of it, I've got to say. So I'm going to start with a tablespoon and a bit. And remember, you can always add more. You can't take it away. So don't go bananas at the beginning. Just put in a little bit to start and then go from there. I've got some more of the Geraldton Wax. So Geraldton Wax, if you remember, was the one that I said it tastes sort of a bit like kaffir lime lemongrass cross. So I've got about a tablespoon of that. Straight in. Capers. Now, I love capers. Capers love fish. They especially love barramundi. I'm going to use about a tablespoon of this and a bit. And some Elvis parsley. We're going to go 2 tablespoons of chopped Elvis parsley. And then we'll give this a mix around. And just check the flavour and see if we're liking it. Or if we need to add a little bit of something else. Look at the colour that paste has turned this mayonnaise. It is beautiful. Alright, little taste. Wow. It never ceases to amaze me, this sauce. It's all because of this. This anchovy paste at the beginning of most things will make you deeply happy, I can assure you. There's anchovies, there's spices, there's the flavour of the myrtles. Really are going to match along with the deep flavour that is in the smoked paprika and the cumin. Unbelievable. Okay, so the only thing that has to go in here now is this one, which is sliced shallots and the native tamarind. So I'm going to give that like another 5 minutes while I cook the fish, and then I'll pass it off, put it in, and then we'll finish the whole thing off. At this point, I'm going to put my bread rolls into the oven, just to give them a little warm through. We're going to turn on the stove. So work out how to work it. Now, we're going to shallow fry the fish. So, I'm using grapeseed oil. You can use any kind of vegetable oil, you can use peanut oil, whatever you like. I use grapeseed oil because it doesn't have any flavour. I'm more interested in the flavour of the fish rather than the oil, which is why I use it. Thank you very much. So while that oil's heating up, we're just going to pick some beautiful fresh herbs to go in along with the sandwich. So rather than do, you know, lettuce leaves or iceberg or whatever, it's really nice to have a fresh herb salad instead. It's fragrant, it's much more delicious, and it smells amazing. So I'm doing basil, coriander, and mint because that's really going to lift this sandwich to another level. So handful of basil, Eva, coriander, that's parsley. Oh, Eva. Handful of mint, handful of basil, and there, coriander. Same again, handful, just equal quantities of each is fine. You don't have to be exact, no recipe for this. Throw some, little bit of herb. See how the oil's going, temperature wise. Not much happening there, so we'll turn it up. The oil temperature when you're cooking this barramundi is really critical, to be honest with you. You need the oil to be hot enough to toast the breadcrumbs and cook the fish, obviously. But if it's too hot, you're just going to burn the breadcrumbs straight away, and then it's just not the same. We want a nice sort of rich golden colour rather than it being too dark. So the oil temperature, critical. Often, like I've just done here, I'll just stick a little bit of herb into the oil just to see what kind of temperature it's at. If it starts frying and bubbling and spitting, then it's at a good temperature. If it burns the herb straight away, your oil is simply too hot. So we can see it's just starting to fry there. So we're getting close temperature-wise. Looking good. Everyone's got kitchen roll in their kitchen, right? best thing to take all the fat off the fish once it's fried. Seriously, nothing better. Even chefs use it. There you go. Now we're getting that. Okay. So, fish in. So we want just to slowly bring this up. If it's too hot, as I said, the breadcrumbs are going to burn and it is nasty, no good. So while that's cooking, I'm now going to squeeze off our shallots and native tamarind. So before I do that, I'm just going to get some of the lemon juice to dress a salad and some of the sliced shallots in there. And the rest of it, I'm going to squeeze it out. So I want to squeeze all of the lemon juice out of this because it will just let down the mayonnaise too much and then you'll end up having a soggy sandwich, which nobody wants. So just get your hand in there, squeeze all the juice out. Okay, now the liquid that we've squeezed out of here, you want to keep that because it is really, really good. You can use it in a salad dressing or something further down the track. So now, our shallots, we want a good chunk in there. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to put them all in. There we go. So fish starting to fry nicely. Mix this up while we're waiting, and we'll do one final test just in case it needs any salt or pepper or a little bit more lemon or let's try it. So good. Okay. So we can see the colour just starting to appear on the edges there. Rolls. Cut our bread rolls. Again, you can use any kind of bread, you know, sliced mighty white, it really doesn't matter. These are just nice because they're a similar shape to the fish. We're very close to turning that fish. So now we're going to get, we don't need any butter or anything on these, on the bread at all. There's enough going on just with this this relish. So we just want to, yeah, a tablespoon on each side. Is enough. Sometimes I reckon I'm a little bit too generous in the old relish. Okay. All we need now is the fish. Just finishing off. Extra virgin olive oil into our salad. A little bit of salt. Reverse that so it's ready to go. That fish is looking close. Nice and golden brown. Just the way we like it. Really, let's be honest, if you didn't want to make a sandwich, how good would this be with some chips? So good. There's a little cheeky bit there. I'm gonna eat that. A little bit more salt. And some lemon juice. It's amazing. I can taste the myrtles really coming through, and you know, myrtles are a huge part of Australia. You know, for me it tastes like Australia. Lemon myrtle, aniseed myrtle, cinnamon myrtle. Those are flavors that I've learned to love since I came here to Australia 20 years ago, and they speak of Australia to me, no question. I love it. So, fish, bang, straight on. There we go. Salad, straight on top. Be generous. It's delicious. It's healthy. Little dish there. Lid on. Epic fish sandwiches, absolutely epic. And I'm going to try one right now. Look at that guy. Super delicious. That is amazingly delicious. It's easy to do. You can knock it up super quick, like we have done today. Listen, that's it from me. Have a great day. And also stick around because we've got Joe Barrett and Matt Stone teaching you how to make cheese, believe it or not, from Oak Ridge. And we've also got Matt Moran, who's having a few mates round to show you how you can do an epic dinner party at home. We've got pub trivia, whiskey tasting, and a whole lot more. And tomorrow, my buddy Andy Allen and his mates from the Three Blue Ducks are going to show you how to cook the best breakfast you have ever seen. His eggs are amazing. Stick around and see Australia.